we don't carry a lot of crosses, or in fact, we don't have any here. We don't carry crosses here in Beth. And you might ask the question, why is that? In fact, that's probably true for many Messianic synagogues that you go to. And I would say it's not so much, it really goes back to this issue of some of the things that Paul's going to expound upon in 1 Corinthians, and this idea of spiritual maturity and being all things to all people. We understand that the cross has been used. Unfortunately, if you take it and you turn it upside down, it makes the shape of a sword. And that's the way that the Jewish people have, unfortunately, oftentimes seen the cross. It's been used as a sword against them. We know that it was a symbol of shame, and it was a symbol of something that was not good. And so we're sensitive to that here at Beth Yeshua Congregation. And some people make an argument that, well, the cross is a pagan symbol anyways, we shouldn't use that, but some people make the issue out of the Star of David, right? They would argue the same things. And again, if we're spiritually mature, I think we can understand that sometimes things have value simply in what the person or the people or a people group give to it at that particular time period. And it doesn't always necessarily mean the same thing. My point is that context is key, is important. And, we oftentimes accuse somebody of idolatry. And we'll get into this as we continue to go through 1 Corinthians. But before we accuse somebody of idolatry, we need to ask the question, or simply ask them, how do you see this? And what is your perspective on this? Before we try to start accusing somebody of idolatry, let's listen to where they're coming from. Now, maybe we can say, well, there's a better way to do this, and that's a part of the Messianic Jewish call. But we need to be cautious before we start putting labels on people and blaming people and naming people something that they don't necessarily espouse. This is all an issue of spiritual maturity. So, first and foremost, their priorities are right. They have a focus upon the cross. They have a focus upon the message of Yeshua. And they're not worried about trying to appeal to the world, and they're not worried about trying to be an expounder of some type of new philosophy or something. They're not totally over-absorbed with financial gain and means. I think of a pastor recently that he had an old Volkswagen back in the 70s, and he had this thing. It was an old clunker, but he was a Sunday school teacher. He was in seminary, and he was Sunday school teacher. He taught 5th and 6th grade boys, and he would go and he would get about almost 10 kids in that Volkswagen. He was going to a Sunday church, and he would load them up and he would take them, and he always wanted a Camaro though, and he got a brand new. He got this opportunity to get this shiny red brand new 1975 Camaro. It was just beautiful, and he was going to get it for like $2,000 or something. Somebody had funded him, and so he was able to get it. This is the dream that he had always wanted, and so he finally gets this Camaro, and he finally has it, and he's able to stroll through town. He looks awesome, and then it dawned on him after a couple of weeks, how am I going to get those kids to where they need to be to hear the Word of God? And he had to make a hard decision. He had to end up giving that old Camaro away. As beautiful and as wonderful as it was, and it's something that he always wanted. And he kept his Volkswagen, went back to the Volkswagen. It was a gesture of humility, but it was also a gesture of having the right priority and the right focus. And that is for God's kingdom purpose.